Listen up. Everyone thinks you need to drop 50 grand on a brand new truck to get reliability. Wrong. I'm about to show you 5 trucks that are so cheap, so tough, and so ridiculously immortal that they'll probably outlive your grandkids. We're talking about trucks that laugh in the face of rust, mock the concept of mechanical failure, and basically run on pure stubbornness and spite. These machines are like cockroaches with wheels, except way cooler, and they actually haul stuff. The best part? You can grab most of these for less than a decent used sedan. Stick around, because number 3 is so indestructible, it's literally been used as a weapon of war, and it still runs better than your neighbor's pristine F-150.
All right, kicking off our list at number 5 is a truck that's been hiding in plain sight for decades, quietly embarrassing every overpriced pickup on the road, the Nissan Frontier. And before you roll your eyes thinking, really? A Nissan truck? Let me tell you something that'll blow your mind. This thing is basically the honey badger of the truck world. It just doesn't care about anything. Here's the deal. While everyone's been obsessing over Tacomas and Rangers, the Frontier's been sitting in the corner like that kid in school who never studied but somehow aced every test. The secret? Nissan built this truck using what I call the if it ain't broke, don't fix it philosophy, taken to an absolutely absurd level. The second-generation Frontier ran from 2005 to 2021, 16 years with barely any changes. Most manufacturers would be embarrassed by that. Nissan, they're just laughing all the way to the reliability bank. Let's talk about what's under the hood, because this is where things get interesting. You've got 2 engine options that are basically bulletproof. The 4-cylinder is fine, sure, but the real star of the show is the VQ40DE V6. This 4-liter beast pumps out 261 horsepower and has a reputation that makes mechanics weep tears of joy. People are running these engines past 300,000 miles like it's nothing. I'm talking about trucks that have seen more sunrises than your local rooster, and they're still firing on all 6 cylinders without a hiccup. But here's what really separates the Frontier from the pretenders: the timing chain. Not a belt, a chain. You know what that means? No 60,000-mile service where someone charges you $2 grand to replace a rubber band. This chain is designed to last the life of the engine. And guess what? It actually does. The engineers at Nissan basically said, what if we made something that doesn't break? And everyone else in the industry looked at them like they were crazy. The frame on these trucks is absolutely overbuilt. We're talking fully boxed steel that's thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. There are Frontiers in the Rust Belt still running around with their original frames, which is basically the automotive equivalent of finding a unicorn. The suspension is simple, tough, and designed like it needs to survive the apocalypse. Double wishbone up front, leaf springs in the rear. Old school tech that mechanics can fix with their eyes closed. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's old technology. Where's my fancy touchscreen? Where's my heated steering wheel? And that's exactly the point. There's no overly complex electronic systems to fail. No 12-way power seats with motors that'll quit after 5 years. No fancy adaptive cruise control that costs $4,000 to fix when it inevitably has a sensor meltdown. The Frontier keeps it simple, which means there's less stuff to break. Revolutionary concept, right? And here's the kicker. You can find these trucks for absolute peanuts. While people are dropping 30 to 40 grand on used Tacomas because of the Toyota tax, you can snag a clean Frontier with reasonable miles for 15 to 20 grand. Sometimes less if you're patient. You're getting 90% of the capability for literally half the price. Do a math on that one. The payload capacity sits around 1,400 pounds, and you can tow up to 6,700 pounds with the V6, which is more than enough for most people who actually use their trucks instead of just parking them at Whole Foods. The bed is a proper size, the cab is comfortable enough for daily driving, and the 4-wheel drive system is dead simple and actually works when you need it. Insurance companies love these trucks because they don't get stolen as often, they're cheap to repair, and they don't attract the kind of attention that makes you a target. It's the ultimate sleeper truck. Nobody expects the Frontier to be still running when everything around it has been crushed into recyclable aluminum cubes. So there you have it, the Nissan Frontier. The truck that proves you don't need to be flashy, expensive, or trendy to be absolutely indestructible. It's like that old Nokia phone your dad had. Not pretty, not fancy, but you could drop it off a building and it would probably still make calls. Speaking of things that refuse to die no matter what you throw at them, Coming in at number 4, we need to talk about the truck that's achieved something no other vehicle in history has managed. It's literally become a legend that transcends automotive culture entirely. I'm talking about the Toyota Hilux. And if you think I'm exaggerating, stick with me, because this story gets absolutely wild. Let me paint you a picture. In 1988, Top Gear took a Hilux, drove it into a tree, submerged it in the ocean for 5 hours, set it on fire, dropped it from a crane, hit it with a wrecking ball, and then placed it on top of a building that they demolished. When they pulled it out of the rubble, changed the fluids, and gave it a little mechanical attention, it started. It drove away. That wasn't fiction, that wasn't a commercial. That was real documentation of what this truck can survive. If that doesn't make you stop and think, I don't know what will. But here's where it gets even crazier. The Hilux has become the unofficial vehicle of choice in literally every conflict zone and disaster area on the planet. There's a reason you see these trucks in documentaries about remote desert operations, war zones, and the most inhospitable places on Earth. It's not because they look cool. It's because when your life depends on your vehicle starting tomorrow morning in 120-degree heat or -30 cold, you bet on the Hilux every single time. Now let's get into why this truck is mechanically immortal. Toyota engineered the Hilux with a philosophy that borders on obsessive paranoia about reliability. The diesel engines, particularly the legendary 2.8-liter and 3-liter turbo diesels, are so overbuilt that they're basically agricultural equipment masquerading as automotive parts. These engines have iron blocks, forged internals, and tolerances so conservative that they could probably run on vegetable oil and prayers if you really needed them to. The fuel injection systems are deliberately simple. No fancy, high-pressure, common rail nightmares that need dealer-level diagnostics when they hiccup. We're talking about proven technology that a competent mechanic in the middle of nowhere can actually fix with basic tools. That's not a bug, that's a feature. Toyota knew exactly what they were doing when they kept things straightforward. The transmission options are equally bulletproof. The manual gearboxes feel like they were carved from a single block of solid steel, and the automatic transmissions use proven torque converter technology that's been refined over decades. No dual clutch nonsense, no CVT experiments, just gears that mesh and stay mesh for hundreds of thousands of miles. People are regularly seeing these transmissions hit 400,000 miles without needing a rebuild, which is frankly ridiculous. The chassis and suspension setup is where Toyota really flexed their engineering muscles. The ladder frame is constructed from high-tensile steel that's designed to twist and flex without cracking. In regions where roads are more like suggestions than actual paths, this flexibility is the difference between a truck that lasts 20 years and one that cracks its frame after 5. The leaf spring suspension in the rear is primitive by modern standards, but it's also practically indestructible and can handle absurd amounts of weight without complaining. Here's something that'll make you laugh and cry at the same time. In some parts of the world, the Hilux is so reliable and so valued that it's literally used as currency. I'm not joking. There are places where a well-maintained Hilux holds its value better than actual money. Try doing that with your fancy modern truck that needs a software update every 3 months. The four-wheel drive system is mechanical, robust, and idiot-proof. You pull a lever, things engage, and you're suddenly unstoppable. No electronic gremlins, no actuators that freeze up in cold weather, no warning lights that send you spiraling into an existential crisis about whether you should trust the computer or your own eyes. It just works, and it keeps working. Now, I'll be straight with you. If you're in North America, getting your hands on a proper Hilux is complicated because of import regulations and the chicken tax. But the rest of the world has been enjoying these trucks for decades. And when you can find them through legitimate import channels or in markets where they're sold, they command premium prices. But here's the thing. People pay that premium because they know what they're getting. You're not buying a truck. You're buying a vehicle that will legitimately outlast your mortgage. The maintenance intervals are generous, Parts are available everywhere humans have established civilization, and the truck's reputation means that mechanics actually enjoy working on them. When's the last time you heard a mechanic say they were excited to work on something? So that's the Toyota Hilux, the truck that's so tough it's boring, so reliable it's become a meme, and so legendary that it's probably going to be running long after we've colonized Mars. But as indestructible as the Hilux is, our next truck takes durability to an even more obsessive level.
Sliding into the number 3 spot is the truck that's been America's best-selling vehicle for 47 consecutive years. Yeah, you heard that right. Not just best-selling truck, best-selling vehicle, period. The Ford F-150. And before you say, wait, isn't that expensive? Hold on, because I'm about to show you why older generation F-150s are some of the smartest money you'll ever spend on 4 wheels. Here's what most people don't understand about the F-150. Ford has been perfecting this formula since 1948, which means they've had nearly 8 decades to figure out what breaks and engineer it out of existence. This isn't some experimental platform that's on its 2nd generation hoping to get things right. This is a truck that's been refined through literal millions of real-world test subjects driving them into the ground every single day. Let's talk powertrains, because this is where the F-150 becomes a masterclass in options. You've got the bulletproof 5.4-liter Triton V8 from the 2004-2008 era that, despite its reputation for spark plug issues, which is totally fixable, will run forever if you treat it halfway decent. Then you've got the absolutely legendary 4.6-liter V8, which is so reliable it's almost boring. But the real secret weapon? The 3.5-liter EcoBoost. Now I know what you're thinking, turbos on a work truck? That's going to be expensive. Except Ford engineered these EcoBoost engines with commercial fleet use in mind, meaning they built them to survive taxi duty, police pursuits, and contractor abuse. These aren't fragile tuner turbos, these are industry-grade forced induction systems designed to work hard. The genius of the F-150 is Ford's understanding of the used market. Because there are so many of these trucks on the road, parts are everywhere and they're cheap. Your local parts store probably has 3 different options for any component you need sitting on the shelf right now. Got a problem? There's a YouTube video with 17 million views showing you exactly how to fix it in your driveway. Try finding that kind of support for some obscure imported truck. The frame construction went through a revolution in 2015 when Ford switched to aluminum body panels. But here's the plot twist. The older steel-bodied trucks are actually incredible values right now. Everyone's chasing the new aluminum models, which means the 2009 to 2014 generation trucks are sitting in used lots at prices that make 0 sense for what you're getting. Fully boxed, high-strength steel frames, coil-over rear suspension for a ride quality that doesn't beat you to death, and proven drivetrains that'll run past 250,000 miles without drama. Let's address the elephant in the room: payload and towing capacity. The F-150 isn't messing around here. Depending on configuration, you're looking at payload capacities pushing 3,000 pounds and towing numbers that kiss 13,000 pounds with the right setup. That's not light-duty truck territory. That's legitimately into heavy-duty performance with half-ton truck fuel economy and insurance costs. You're getting a truck that can actually work without destroying your wallet every time you fill the tank. The cab configurations give you options that most other manufacturers can't match. Super cab, super crew, regular cab. Ford understood that not everyone needs the same truck, so they built something for everybody. Need a long bed for actual hauling? They've got you. Need rear doors for kids and dogs? Done. Want the most basic stripped-down work truck possible? Here's your regular cab with a rubber floor and a radio that picks up AM stations from 3 states away. The aftermarket support is absolutely insane. You want to lift it? There's probably 50 companies making suspension kits. Need performance parts? The Ford truck community has been modifying these things since bell bottoms were fashionable. Want to replace literally any component with an upgraded version? Someone's already engineered it, tested it, and sold 10,000 units. But here's what really separates the F-150 from theoretical reliability and real-world dependability. These trucks are designed to be fixed. Ford engineered them knowing that people would be wrenching on these in farm fields, construction sites, and home garages. The engine bay has actual space to work. The components are accessible. You don't need to remove the entire front clip to change a headlight bulb like some European luxury nightmares.
Insurance companies give these trucks reasonable rates because they're not high theft targets like some other models. They're cheap to repair, and statistically they're driven by people who actually need trucks rather than people treating them like sports cars. That adds up to real savings every single month. The depreciation curve works in your favor. A new F-150 loses value quickly in the first 3 years, but then it flattens out dramatically. Buy a 5 to 7-year-old model with decent miles, take care of it, and you can drive it for another decade while it barely loses any more value. That's not a vehicle purchase, that's a strategic investment. So there's your F-150, the truck that's been dominating sales charts since your grandparents were young for a very simple reason. It works. It keeps working, and when something eventually breaks, you can fix it without taking out a second mortgage. But as proven as the F-150 is, our next truck has earned its reputation in environments that would make most vehicles cry.
At number 2, we've got the truck that refuses to die, even when you actively try to kill it, the Chevrolet Silverado. And I'm not talking about the fancy new ones with leather massage seats and Wi-Fi hotspots. I'm talking about the GMT 800 and GMT 900 platform Silverados from 1999 through 2013 that have become the backbone of small businesses, ranches, and anyone who needs a truck that just shuts up and works. Here's something that'll blow your mind. General Motors has been building small block V8 engines since 1955, and the engines in these Silverados are direct descendants of that legendary bloodline. The 5.3-liter Vortec is probably the most underrated engine in modern truck history. People treat these things like rental cars, never change the oil on time, tow beyond the rated capacity, idle them for hours on end, and they just keep running. There are 5.3s out there with over 400,000 miles that still fire up on the first crank in January. That's not luck, that's engineering so conservative it borders on paranoid. The 6.0-liter Big Brother is even more ridiculous. This engine was designed for heavy-duty applications, but Chevy dropped it into the 2500 HD models and created a workhorse that commercial fleet managers have literal dreams about. Construction companies buy these trucks, abuse them mercilessly for 15 years, and then sell them to somebody else who gets another decade out of them. The engine doesn't care, it's seen worse. But let's talk about what makes the Silverado special beyond just the powertrains. The interior is basic, and that's actually a superpower. You got rubber floor mats that you can hose out after a muddy workday, vinyl seats that don't care if you spill coffee on them, manual window cranks on the work truck models that will never, ever leave you stranded because a $400 window motor decided to quit. This is a truck that understands its purpose. Haul stuff, tow things, don't complain. The frame construction is absolutely overbuilt for what most people actually do with these trucks. We're talking fully hydroformed steel frames that are stronger and lighter than the old C-shaped channel frames. Chevy engineered these frames to handle the abuse of commercial applications, which means if you're just using it to haul camping gear and Home Depot runs, you've got about 10 times the capacity you actually need. That's the definition of reliability. Build it way stronger than necessary and watch it last forever. The transmission situation is where things get interesting. The 4L60E and 4L80E automatic transmissions have a reputation that's mixed, but here's the truth nobody tells you. If you actually service them, they're fantastic. The trucks that blow transmissions are the ones where someone treated the fluid like it was lifetime fill and then acted surprised when it quit after 200,000 miles of towing. Change the fluid every 50,000 miles like you're supposed to, and these transmissions will outlive the rest of the truck. The 6-speed automatics in the later models are even better and basically bulletproof from the factory. Here's where the Silverado becomes a savvy buyer's dream: depreciation. Because Ford sells slightly more F-150s, the Silverado flies under the radar in the used market. You can find clean, well-maintained examples for thousands less than equivalent F-150s simply because they don't have the same cult following. Smart money recognizes this and snaps them up. You're getting 95% of the truck for 75% of the price. That math works in your favor every single time. The payload ratings are serious business. Even the 1500 models can handle over 2,000 pounds in the bed without breaking a sweat, and the 2500 HD models laugh at loads that would make other trucks cry. The towing capacity ranges from respectable to absolutely ridiculous depending on how you spec it. A properly equipped 2500 HD can pull over 18,000 pounds, which means you can tow a house if you really wanted to. Most people never touch those limits, which means the truck is basically operating at partial capacity its entire life.
The parts availability is a massive advantage. GM made millions of these trucks, which means junkyards are full of spare parts and aftermarket companies have been making upgrades for decades. Need a replacement transmission? There's probably one at the local pick and pull for $300. Want to upgrade your suspension? There's 50 companies competing for your business with kits ranging from budget-friendly to professional off-road setups. The ecosystem around these trucks is massive. Let's talk about real-world ownership. These Silverados are the trucks that landscaping companies buy 10 of because they know exactly what they're getting. They're the trucks that oil field workers drive into the middle of nowhere and trust to get them home. They're the trucks that farmers use for everything from hauling feed to pulling stuck tractors out of mud. When people whose livelihood depends on their vehicle choose something, you should probably pay attention. The ride quality is surprisingly civilized for a body-on-frame truck designed to work. The suspension soaks up bumps better than you'd expect. The cab is quiet at highway speeds, and the seats are actually comfortable for long drives. This isn't some stripped-down penalty box. It's a legitimate daily driver that happens to be capable of serious work when you need it. Insurance costs are reasonable because these aren't flashy status symbols, they're tools. Insurance companies recognize that and price accordingly. Fuel economy is decent for what you're getting. Expect mid-teens in mixed driving with the 5.3, which is perfectly acceptable for a full-size truck that can tow your entire life behind it. So, that's the Chevrolet Silverado, the working-class hero that doesn't need Instagram followers to validate its existence. It just shows up, does the job, and goes home. But as tough as the Silverado is, our final truck is the one that's achieved mythical status for a reason most people don't even realize.
And here we are at number 1, the truck that everyone loves to hate until they actually drive one, the Dodge Ram 1500. Yeah, I said it. The Ram sits at the top of this list, and before you start typing angry comments about reliability ratings and internet forums, let me explain why this truck has quietly become one of the smartest used purchases you can make. Here's the thing about the Ram that nobody wants to admit. Dodge figured out something crucial that their competitors took years to understand. Comfort matters. The 2009 through 2018 fourth-generation Rams introduced coil spring rear suspension when everyone else was still beating their customers to death with leaf springs. That decision changed everything. Suddenly, you had a truck that rode like a luxury car but could still haul a ton of gravel without complaining. Revolutionary? Maybe not. Smart as hell? Absolutely. Let's address the elephant in the room, the Hemi. The 5.7-liter Hemi V8 has a reputation that's way worse than reality. Yeah, there were some issues with valve seat problems and exhaust manifold bolts in early models, but Chrysler fixed those problems over a decade ago. The Hemis from 2013 onward are legitimately stout engines that regularly see 250,000 miles and beyond. People are so busy repeating old horror stories that they're missing out on engines that actually perform incredibly well. This thing makes 395 horsepower and will tow 10,000 pounds while returning fuel economy that makes the competition look embarrassed. But here's where it gets really interesting. The legendary Cummins diesel option. If you step up to a Ram 2500 or 3500, you get access to the 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel. And this engine is the reason Ram trucks have a cult following that borders on religious fervor. This isn't some complicated European diesel nightmare. This is an American-built, agricultural-grade diesel engine that treats 300,000 miles like break-in period. There are Cummins engines out there with over 1 million miles. Not a typo, 1 million miles. These engines are so overbuilt that the rest of the truck usually wears out before the engine even thinks about quitting. The interior quality is where Ram absolutely demolished the competition. While Ford and Chevy were still installing plastic dashboards that looked like they came from 1997, Ram was putting real materials, actual design thought, and features that made you want to spend time in the truck. The 4th and 5th generation Rams have interiors that genuinely compete with luxury SUVs. Heated seats, cooled seats, massive touchscreens, premium sound systems. This isn't a penalty box you tolerate, it's a place you actually enjoy being. Now, let's talk about the transmission situation because this is where people get nervous. The early 545 RFE and 650 RFE transmissions had their issues, no question about it. But here's the reality. Those problems were mostly concentrated in the 2009 to 2012 models, and even then, proper maintenance solved most of them.
The 8-speed ZF transmission that came in 2014 is a completely different animal. This transmission is used in everything from Jeeps to Maseratis, and it's proven itself to be absolutely solid. Smooth shifts, smart programming, and durability that backs up the warranty promises. The frame construction is serious business. Ram uses fully boxed steel frames with hydroforming technology that creates strength where you need it without adding unnecessary weight. These frames are designed to handle the stress of heavy towing and payload while still providing a comfortable ride. The fact that these trucks can tow massive trailers and still feel composed is a testament to chassis engineering that's legitimately world-class. Here's your money-saving secret. Depreciation hits Rams harder than Fords and Chevys in the first few years, which means the used market is absolutely stacked with incredible deals. A 4 or 5-year-old Ram with low miles can cost $10,000 less than an equivalent F-150. Same capability, same features, massive savings. The reason? Brand perception. People are nervous about reliability, which means smart buyers can swoop in and get trucks that are actually excellent for prices that make 0 cents. The payload and towing numbers are competitive with anything else in the class. The 1500 handles over 2,000 pounds of payload depending on configuration, and properly equipped models can tow north of 12,000 pounds. The 2500 and 3500 models with the Cummins are legitimate heavy-duty beasts that can handle commercial-grade work without breaking a sweat. Construction companies, farm operations, and RV towers have been relying on these trucks for years because they deliver when it matters. The Ram Box storage system is one of those features that sounds gimmicky until you actually use it. Built-in weatherproof storage boxes in the bed rails that are lockable, drainable, and genuinely useful? Yeah, that's not a toy. That's legitimate functionality that makes the truck more practical. It's the kind of innovation that actually improves your life rather than just looking good in a brochure. Parts availability is solid and getting better every year as more of these trucks flood the used market. The aftermarket support is massive because Ram owners are passionate about their trucks, and companies have responded with everything from lift kits to performance upgrades to practical modifications. You want to make your Ram better? There's an entire industry ready to help you do exactly that. Let's talk real-world reliability because this is where the rubber meets the road. Yes, older Rams had some issues, but the trucks from 2013 onward are legitimately reliable when properly maintained. The people having problems are usually the ones who ignored service intervals and then blamed the truck. Change your oil, service your transmission, don't skip the basics, and these trucks will run forever. It's not complicated. The ride quality is unmatched in the segment. That coil spring suspension isn't just a gimmick, it fundamentally changes how the truck drives. You can load up the bed or hook up a trailer and the truck still rides like it's empty. Your passengers won't show up at their destination feeling like they just finished the mixed martial arts match. That matters when you're using your truck as a daily driver. Insurance costs are reasonable, fuel economy is competitive, and the overall ownership experience is way better than the internet would have you believe. The Ram 1500 is the truck that rewards people who actually do their research rather than just repeating what they heard third-hand from someone's cousin's neighbor. So there you have it, the Dodge Ram 1500, the underdog that became a champion by focusing on what actually matters: comfort, capability, and value that makes your wallet happy while delivering performance that makes you smile.
And there you have it, 5 trucks that prove you don't need to drop a fortune to get reliability that'll outlast your career. The Nissan Frontier with its bulletproof simplicity, the Toyota Hilux that's literally indestructible, the Ford F-150 that's earned its crown, the Chevrolet Silverado that just refuses to quit, and the Dodge Ram 1500 that's been hiding in plain sight as one of the best values in the entire market. If this video helped you understand why these trucks are legendary, smash that like button and subscribe, because we've got tons more content coming about vehicles that actually deliver value instead of just hype. Drop a comment and tell me which truck you'd choose and why. I read every single comment and I want to hear your stories. And here's the real question. Are you team tried and true Toyota, team American workhorse, or are you brave enough to go with the underdog Ram? The choice is yours, but now you know the truth. These trucks aren't just cheap, they're smart investments that'll keep running long after the fancy new ones are sitting in the scrapyard. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video where we're diving into even more vehicles that laugh in the face of planned obsolescence. Now get out there and find yourself a truck that'll actually last. Peace.